After an incredibly exciting and tense race last week at Indianapolis, we come to the 14th round of the season here for the United Sim Racing Association at Phoenix Raceway. Only 3 races to go after tonight, and this one is certainly going to be the most difficult and most treacherous of the final 3. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. And in the booth with me here tonight is Nate Siefker. Nate, it's been a while since you've been here for USRA, and a couple of things have changed.
Well, that's good to hear. These guys have put on an excellent show for the one race I got to do with them, and I'm looking forward to being able to be on the call for this one as well.
Yeah, they certainly have. I think the mention was, what'd you say during the pre-race, that not one single paint scheme is the same from last time?
Yes. It's very confusing.
So before we delve into practice here, we've only got a couple of minutes left in practice. Let's take a look at the current point standings as they sit right now, because again, we are coming into the final races of the season, and only a 13-point lead for Randy Bechtel. And 3 weeks ago, that was up in the mid-40s. So a couple of bad weeks has really made this championship something to watch.
Absolutely. And, holding the lead is always the toughest part of this. I mean, the gap is only 13 points at this point. Like you said, the gap was about 40 points. So Troy's done an excellent job of getting that gap down. Now it's just a matter of that last bit is always the hardest, getting that final 10 to 15 points out of it.
Not sure why Thomas Ogle's name has showed up like that, but he's one guy who has not been here for a couple of weeks. He was up in 3rd position in points just a couple of weeks ago. He's missed the last 2 races, and he's going to miss again tonight because he is not here, from what I can tell, on the timing pylon. But as we look through the remainder of the standings here, tonight is going to be a test of patience here, because this track is not an easy one to get around.
No, absolutely not. Phoenix is a very difficult track. 2 different corners on either end of the track, and then you have the dog leg here as well. So a couple different variables, almost 3 different corners in a sense, shortened Pocono in a sense. So it's very difficult to set your car up properly, and it's really hard to take care of your tires as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. We are running an open dog leg here tonight, so you can cut this corner here. Well, that corner that Chase Barry was about to go through, as we're getting down into the final 30 seconds of this qualifying session. Boy, Pienza just took a hit. So right where Justin Winters right there was going through, that's going to be open tonight, and that could be the difference in somebody's run going into turn 3 later on tonight.
If we get a green-white checkered at some point tonight, I guarantee you that will be the place on the track where we're going to see the maximum chaos. I guarantee it.
So as the practice session ends, we're about to head into the qualifying session. And also notice, still have not gotten the update to where the start-finish line is between the dog leg and turn 1 and 2. It's still on that straightaway at the back there as we get set to get into our time trial runs. It looks as though Chase Barry is staging at the end of pit road, and Barry is going to be the first one to roll off in that number 11, as Barry has had a good run here these last couple of weeks. His best race of the season was the road course at Daytona by far. Fell off it for a couple of weeks there in the middle between then. But Barry has been on a good run of form as of late, looking to continue it here tonight.
And it all starts with this here. Qualifying is very important, especially here because it's such a difficult place to pass. And look how low he is. My goodness. Just straight up cut the entire racetrack in half with that. So that shows you how important qualifying will be. And I'm sure every single person we watch on this run here will do that.
That's what we are expecting, is our points leader and second place man in points are on track, as well as Chase Barry sets the benchmark at a 27.38. Eric Holly then eclipses that. But let's go to the man who currently leads the point standings right there in the 29, Randy Bechtel, fastest driver in practice, has had a couple of off weeks here recently, as we had said right at the top, that has really put his championship hopes under a little bit more pressure than it was, say, a month ago.
And it's really hard. Like I just mentioned, it's super hard to keep a hold of it. It feels like you always have someone just massive target on your back, and it's saying, "Here, I'm your rabbit. Come and get me." And it's very hard in order to hold off people like that. So it'll be interesting to see if Randy is able, as he goes to second on the time charts there, see how he does with this pressure. Like we said, we only got a couple races left to go.
The man he is trying to hold back is the man who just crossed the line and went up to third on the timesheet, Troy Torgerson. Torgerson with the beneficiary of Pogo's misfortune last week. Jeff Pogo has set a time already. He is qualified in the fourth position as we look to Alex Huffman coming out of the final corner. Purple in the first half of the lap. It will go sixth. It seems to be that second half of the lap is what's really what's really catching everybody out here tonight.
And part of that, I think if we were to go back and look at the correlation between people running the dog leg and not dog leg is super dirty. Nobody really goes down there, and it never gets a whole lot of usage. And the thing about iRacing is that, yes, dust does make a difference. Tire pickup does make a difference. So it'll be interesting to see if people that go down there when they go into 3 and 4, how the car handles.
A little bit of a wiggle there out of Daniel Dill, who has just completed his first lap. Dill up to 12th on the timing pylon. Evan Pienta showing him out on track right now. He has completed both of his qualifying laps, as you see, up into fifth position. As Dill, this is one of the IndyCar strategies that you guys employed last year. Watch out.
Thankfully, I didn't employ that strategy.
Yeah, no. But going and taking a very wide entry into turn 3, there you go. Persevere, finish the lap. Atta boy. We like
doesn't
perseverance
count,
here.
Yeah, going off your point, I think you're going to mention how the top lane in 3 and 4 is better, correct? Or
I was going to say going in the top lane in 3 and 4 and then cutting it down to try to get as straight an exit as possible coming off of 4.
Yeah, I mean, the thing there, too, is that people don't realize it, but there's quite a bit of grip up there on the top side in 3 and 4. If it correlates a whole lot to these cars, I'm not 100% sure exactly, to be 100% honest with you. But I'd be interested to see if people kind of run that lane a bit tonight, maybe get that top lane working.
It'll certainly be interesting to see. The only other driver that is staging on pit road right now is the 30 of Dave Carman. Beyond that, Mike Mock, Jared Hagedorn, Tommy Cannon, Zach Calloway, and Jamie Leach, along with David Carman, have not put in a qualifying time as of yet. Only 16 of the 22 participants here tonight have set a time, and they are the only ones that will, because we have 10 seconds left in this qualifying session.
That would be pretty impressive if somebody could get out there in 10 seconds to set a lap. That would be impressive.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's your pole lap right there.
No track record lap right there.
I think it might be a land speed record as well. As we get set to run tonight's third to last race of the season, let's take a look at the grid for round number 14 here at Phoenix Raceway. It'll be Jeff Chandler nipping the pole by a half a tenth over Randy Bechtel. That will complete row 1. Troy Torgerson and Jeff Pogo will sit in row 2. Row 3 goes to Evan Pienta and Alex Huffman. Eric Holly with his best qualifying effort in quite some time. In the number 8 will start 7th. Roy Lehmans rounds out row 4. Row 5 will go to Ryan Jones and Luke LaFaro. Row 6 to Chase Barry and Daniel Dill.
Stephen Holmes, he'll roll off in 13th position with Jeff Winter alongside him, closing out row number 7 and 14th spot. Justin Winters and Larry Poling, they'll make up the 15th and 16th positions. They're also the last two on the grid that qualified. Tommy Cannon and Zach Calloway, they'll roll off 17th and 18th with Jamie Leach and Jared Hagedorn. They'll roll off 19th and 20th. And David Carman and Mike Mock. They'll roll off on the last row of the grid, 21st and 22nd.
So that is your grid here for tonight. Everyone, from what we can see, is in position as we get set to bring you what is expected to be a very entertaining race here tonight from Phoenix Raceway. This is one of those tracks where you're going to see a lot of bumping, you're going to see a lot of banging, there's going to be a lot of fender rubbing, and because of that, there's going to be a lot of hurt feelings by the end of tonight, especially with a championship fight so close, so late in the season.
Shades of Gordon and Boyer.
Yep.
In 2012 there. I don't know if that'll happen, but that would be kind of cool if we did see that.
It would certainly be interesting. I mean, of course, we're not going to get the fight after it, but we'll certainly get the fireworks on track as we head through turns 3 and 4, getting set to begin round 14 of 16. The points leader sitting in the outside of the front row, his two rivals sitting side by side in the second row. Jeff Chandler will lead them down. We are green flag racing here at Phoenix, 180 laps tonight.
Strong getaway there for Jeff, and now the whole point is just to run away here. Be interesting to see is we're still 2 by 2 through the back there. See if anyone takes the dog leg, and it looks like everybody's playing nice for the most part there.
That was Ryan Jones, and around goes Roy Leemans. Boy, you could see it coming. We saw as the caution comes out, Larry Poling involved. Looks to be the 81 of Daniel Dill there as well. You were talking about taking the dog leg, and Ryan Jones was the only one that took it as wide as anyone else. Well, wider than anyone else, I should say, and that is the reason we're under caution.
I was about to make the comment right after I finished. Oh, except for one. And then that happened. So that just shows maybe that's a reminder to everybody, hey, that dog leg is dirty. It is, a very difficult transition to come back up. So it'll be interesting to see if people will kind of notice that, and maybe we won't see that till later on in the race.
Hopefully not, as we'll take an overhead look of Ryan Jones here. This is going through turns 1 and 2. He's going to cut this dog leg here. He was the most egregious to make the cut. And then there's net code involved there too, but that was close. Luke Lafaro also caught a piece of it. But there was certainly net code involved there too, as we saw in the overhead shot.
If he just was able to get it, not slowed down in time and not hit the 74 of Roy Leemans there, that would have been an excellent move. He made 2 spots there, but that we just mentioned it there. The apron is dirty down there. It is difficult to get back up.
Mike Mock also had an issue getting through that in the 21. There's Mike in that Jim Beam number 21. As we work just our first caution here before we were able to complete lap number 1. Daniel Dill is the only car still on pit road, so he will be the one and only driver to be put a lap down, I believe, as Roy Leemans. Actually, I think Leemans might be done here tonight after that one. Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Not seeing him. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not seeing his lap counter moving, and he's not in pit road, so I would have to assume.
I don't see he's put it on the hauler, though, either yet, so that's interesting to note.
All right, so time to try this again. Now, Jeff Pogo did lose a spot on that start to Evan Pienta. Pienta will now start on the outside of the second row. Pogo on the inside of the third row. Here comes Chandler, straighten that car off. Wait for the green. We got it. We're going back racing. Mighty clean there through turns 1 and 2. Bechtel and Chandler get clear again.
Notice how everybody played nice. Nobody went to the apron that time. And look at Pienta there. A power move around the outside of Torgensen there to just get to third place. And it'll be interesting to see as he works the backside of Bechtel here. He can make that work too.
Yeah, we've seen Pienta have a lot of success on short tracks this season. Completely walked away with the race at North Wilkesboro earlier on this season, staking his claim as one of the major championship contenders here this season. But then we hit tracks where tire wear became king, and he fell off a little bit. He really came back to prominence at Nashville before getting out of pit sequence forced him into the back, and he never really got back up through the field. This is one of the tracks where I would expect Pienta to really shine, and also that dominating performance at the Daytona Road Course, his second win of the season.
Absolutely. He's at the fastest lap of that lap there. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to replicate that there. Well, not quite, but he's still one of the faster guys in the field. I'm interested to see, I think if I remember right, he was one of the people at Dover who had a lot of issues throughout the run. So it'll be interesting to see if he's got the short-term pace, which is excellent, but how is he able throughout the run to do as well?
Absolutely right there as we rode on board with Randy Bechtel, just showing you how close these guys do get to each other. As we work lap 9, Roy Lehmans is, yep, we are under caution here. Ooh, looks like Zach Calloway is around in the 55. Let's see what happened to poor old Zach here. Justin Winters in the 52 in front of him, and just too much gas on exit.
And we were only, what, 4 laps in there to that green flag run there. So that's kind of interesting to see the tires give up that early, especially that late into the corner. I mean, they would be on the gas there for a good 2 seconds at that point, I would have to think. So that's kind of interesting to see that he kind of just lost the rear end that late in the corner.
Yeah, these cars are very fidgety under power. It does take a second to wrangle these cars in. As we see Evan Pienta faking going into pit road. Alex Huffman follows suit. As these top 5 drivers here, as we had mentioned before and as you saw on the screen earlier, Randy Bechtel holding a 13-point lead over Troy Torgerson in standings right now in the 98. And there's only 11 points right now that are separating Torgerson and Pogo. And the way the standings work here, it's 75 points for a win. And then it breaks off a little bit from there. So it will certainly behoove these guys, of course, to go for a win, because a win is a win is a win. But that's a big points gap. You don't need to be X amount of positions ahead when there's a 5-point gap just between first and second.
I didn't realize it was 75 points for a win. That makes that a lot closer. I thought it was a little bit further than that. I didn't realize the point structure of the league until you just said that. So that's kind of tight. Really tight, actually.
It's 75 points for a win, 70 for second, 69, 68, 67 for the top 5, and then from 6th on down, it's 62, 61, 60, and so on and so forth, down by 1. So the top 5 do have a little bit of a different point structure as compared to the rest of the field. So yeah, that does make this quite close. It's just 2 positions, really. Well, actually, yeah, it's 1st and 5th for Bechtel and Torgerson, really. Then your points leaders changed.
So you think they're going to play nice this time?
I would think so. They're running line astern right now, Torgerson and Bechtel. I'd say it's a little early to pull a Senna right now.
Especially they got 2 races to go yet still.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'd say it's a little early.
It's nice when something like that happens at the end of the year. You don't have to worry about a receipt. As we come off of turn 4, set to begin lap number 13. Jeff Chandler in control yet again. Green flag is out. We're back racing at Phoenix.
Pienta did a really good job of rotating the corner there. And look at this. He's right alongside of Bedell. And, oh, look at this. Ryan Jones back to the apron again. This time he's a little bit better.
Yeah, that wasn't as extreme as the first time. Now, he was still taking that apron on the last run. Just wasn't noteworthy. And he gets a really good run under the 4 of Jeff Pogo. And Pogo's got to do a little bit of risk assessment here. As the 91, he's able to clear him coming out of the corner.
There he goes again. See if he can get a run. Maybe not. Oh, man. I'm going to be watching him all night long because he seems like he's the only guy that wants to really even try it at the moment.
Riding on board, this is the back end of Jeff Pogo's number 4 Monster Energy Ford. Showing you what he sees behind him. Just a little bit clearer and a little bit bigger. Boy, he's got a couple of angry, quick cars behind him. We know the speed that Alex Huffman has all season long. He's won pole award after pole award after pole award this season. Hasn't been able to fix it on the long runs. Has the 5, but has certainly had a good run as Pogo now goes under him, or pardon me, as Jones looks under him but can't make the move stick.
Chandler's done an excellent job here. He's pulled out a little bit of a gap compared to what we've seen him do the previous 2 runs there. And we're going to see if he's able to kind of manage that gap. We don't need to see him, we're going to see if he goes flat out or if he conserves, kind of like how Bechtel did at Dover a couple races ago.
And Jeff Chandler, we've noted it here, but again, it's been a while since you've been in the booth, Nate. Winner at Auto Club, had the next week off due to work. Winner at Atlanta had the next week off due to work. We were expecting his last race to be at Indianapolis last week, where he clawed back a 30-second gap in about 25 laps to finish right on the back bumper of Troy Torgerson for second. The big thing about all those tracks is those are big tire wear racetracks, and he has won 2 of the 3, and the one he didn't win, he finished second. This is another conservation track, and he's right up here at the point.
Interesting to note, too, as well. Bechdel's right on the rear end of Pienta there. So we're going to see if Pienta's kind of in that stage of the run where he's kind of starting to fade away, or if he's learned from his previous adventures that maybe it's a little bit better to take care of the tires a little bit longer.
Looking side by side here between Ryan Jones and Alex Huffman, as Huffman goes way down on the inside, doesn't quite get that same push up in the middle of 3 and 4. These guys have been having a nice little duel here for the last 5 or 6 laps, and Jones finally takes the position.
And those 2 seem to be the more adventurous of the 2 in the field, I have to say. We saw Ryan run the apron quite a bit there, and just how you said, Alex was making a really good move there on Ryan, but couldn't complete it. So it'll be interesting to see if this continues throughout the race with their aggression level. I mean, we got 160 more laps to go. I'd imagine at some point they're going to say, all right, I need to calm down.
Yeah, you would think at least at some point, as we take a look at the throttle inputs and speeds for Huffman, well, he would be full throttle here. I guess it's more of a mile-an-hour chart, but you listen to how much he has to let this car roll through the center of the corner, and is actually having to catch it here as he slides coming out of 4.
Yeah, this is the part of the run where, we've got 20-odd laps on these tires, about 15 under green, I'd have to say. So this is the part of the run where the tires are starting to give up their life. I mean, if we look at, Chandler's lap times over time, I'm sure that he's dropped off quite a bit as the yellow is back out.
Caution comes out. This for the 30 of David Carman. As we had mentioned, there he goes. Looks like Carman might have done the same exact thing that Zach Calloway did not that long ago. As you said, tires are starting to get greasy. Boy, he lost that one. He fought to keep that one straight and just couldn't.
Oh. And literally Pauling could not get it stopped in time as well.
So we are working on our fourth caution of the race, or pardon me, third caution of the race. About to start lap 23. Do we take tires here or no?
Oh, we're taking tires, 100%. If you don't take tires, I'll be very surprised. Oh, wait a second.
Wow.
I will admit, I am surprised about that move.
So that's your race leader, Jeff Chandler, leading the group in. That group is Ryan Jones, Stephen Holmes, Luke LaFaro in. Jeff Winter, Tommy Cannon, pretty much everyone else beyond 10th at the time of the caution flag. Randy Bechtel stays out, gets a point for a lap led, so that's important. But his two championship rivals stay out with him.
I mean, there is only 5 tire sets they can use in the race here. So that could have a impact in that decision as well, but I'd have to imagine we're going to get long green flag runs at some point, so that number really won't matter as much.
We haven't seen too many cautions here in this series. The most cautions we had, I mean, we only had 2 cautions last week at Indianapolis. The season high is 16 at Nashville, but I mean, if you watched the Nashville race and if you know what Nashville is like, you know that's a track. I mean, that's a caution fest of a track, not necessarily the series. Only 1 caution at Atlanta, 3 cautions at Dover, 2 cautions at Auto Club. This is not a series that throws out many cautions. So to see this already, I mean, that was even at North Wilkesboro, only 9 cautions for these guys. So these guys will get it figured out, and you're right. It's more likely than not that we are going to see a decently long green flag run here.
So 9 guys stay out on the old tires. Dill and Chandler are the first 2 that pitted there. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to get through the field quite quickly here.
It certainly would be. As you see the 21 leaving a little bit of a gap there. That's Mike Mock on the inside line. Now he tightens up on the inside. Randy Bechtel will lead them down for the first time. Green flag is back in the air. What a jump by Evan Pienta. Gets right out to the lead. Now he's got to clear him going into turn 1. He won't do that, but a wonderful jump from the 16.
That was a really strong restart, actually, so I'm quite impressed with that. And look at this. He is going to clear him at this point here. So that was a really strong start.
It's a sensational start from the 16 of Evan Pienta. Jeff Pogo currently sitting right behind the 29. Bechtel only has 1 win this season, as compared to Jeff Pogo's 3. And Pogo has won all 3 of those since the calendar switched to 2021. Bechtel won his back at the 4th race of the year at Kansas.
Tell you what, I'm watching Ryan Jones at the moment. The reason why is because he's the first of the guys that pitted there. And at the moment, he is carving through traffic quite well, actually, if I've noticed. But Chandler did not get a good start at all there.
No, Jeff Chandler is back down into the 14th position. He's battling with Daniel Dill right now in the 81. As once again, going back up front, Ryan Jones and Alex Huffman battling once again. Huffman now is that first car that came in and has fresh tires. Oh, wow. Torgerson, Jones, hold on to it.
Wow, that was impressive.
Yeah, that got a little bit close. And now that will leave Luke LaFaro, who is now the first car on fresh tires in that number 20. Now, LaFaro has come in to pit twice. He was involved in that first incident with Roy Lehmans and then came into pit now. Only damage repair for the 20 on the first stop. He's taken tires since. And now Troy Torgerson starting to fall backwards down into the 7th position.
How much of that, oh, look at that, that's impressive how low Luke got there.
Yep.
But how much of that would you think that's just conserving the car, trying to stay in the championship fight? I would have to think it's quite a bit myself. And this stage of the race, we're only 30 laps in. We're just a sixth of the way into this race. I'd imagine that that's just kind of, I don't need to be at the front at this moment. I'm going to just kind of ride at the moment.
I would tend to agree with you, but we saw from the Sim Racers Edge race last season, a caution here could mean 5 more in rapid succession, which means less time to make up the ground you lose under green flag conditions like this, trying to save your stuff. And with a championship battle this close and this close to the end, you really can't afford to be just giving away spots. Normally I would agree with you, and I honestly, I think that's what he's doing. I just don't think he can afford to do that really at this point, as now Pogo starting to get passed by cars on fresher tires as we have a battle for the lead between Pienta and Bechtel.
It was like Pienta is able to fire the tire off for about 5 laps really strong right off the yellow, and then it just kind of just starts to fade right at this stage of the run, right when the tires get fully up to temperature. So he does a really good job of that initial tire temperature, of getting the tires working in that range, because these guys are on the new tire model. But look at these 2 guys behind them. They are the ones that pitted there under that yellow.
Yeah, but Luke Lafaro has had a run of horrible luck here as of late in that number 20, looking to change that fortune a little bit here as he moves into the 2nd position, or tries to move into the 2nd position. Cuts that dog leg a little bit. Doesn't really gain too much of an advantage. You'd think cutting the racetrack would gain you a little bit of an advantage. But now he'll get it going into turn 3 and 4, and I would have to assume that's more the advantage. You have the inside line for the next turn.
Yeah, you do have the inside line. You're guaranteed that. But you're also kind of how we saw with Ryan there at the start. Your tires are kind of hot. And now the tires are hot enough so that they're going to stick, the dust is. So I don't know exactly how much that translates over to iRacing, but in real life, that can be quite dangerous.
I mean, you could use as much slip as you can going through turns 3 and 4, but too much is no good.
Absolutely.
Looking through the field here, we were talking about Troy Torgerson moving backwards. He is now leveled out behind Chase Barry in the 7th position. Jeff Pogo, you see him working on Evan Pienta right now, this being for the 4th position. And you're right, Pienta has just completely fallen off here as this run moves on. And Pogo is not one of those guys on fresh tires. They are on the same tire, 37-lap-old tires.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the fuel load. Oh,
that was a little bit of a wiggle for Pogo. He straightened it out.
But what I was mentioning is I'm not exactly sure how long the fuel run's able to go. They have 80% in the car. So if this run goes green enough, we could see the issue with Bechtel and Pienta and Pogo, where they might have the issue of hitting under green here.
And that's, you're coming off a very flat corner there in 3 and 4. And you got to start hitting the brakes to make a pit lane. This is not an easy pit lane to get onto as these guys battle for the 4th position.
And the 2 guys that made their way through, Jones and Lafaro, they're stuck at the moment. They have not been able to get around Randy at all, and Randy's doing an excellent job of not just pulling away from the guys on his set of tires, but keeping these guys at bay.
He certainly has, and this is what you would expect out of a championship leader in Randy Bechtel, who, again, as we had noted before, has somewhat fallen on hard times here in these last couple of races. Finished in 9th position at Indianapolis last week. The week before that at Nashville, he had a spin on the final lap, I believe it was, that put him all the way back to 14th position. Atlanta, he was battling a lap down the whole race after speeding on pit road. Finished 9th at Atlanta. His last good finish, Nate, was the race that you had called at Dover. He finished 2nd behind Jeff Pogos. There goes Ryan Jones for the race lead.
He does a fine job of getting up and around there. So it'll be interesting to see if Jones is able to check out away from Randy now that he's got the clean air. But, I mean, 20 laps difference. That's the difference of the tires, roughly. It'll be interesting to see how eventually Ryan and Luke and all the guys that pitted there, their tires are eventually going to wear out. It'll be interesting to see how they do with that.
Taking a look right now, the first and third place runners coming into pit on lap 23. The other guys in the top 5 have not. The first driver beyond these guys that have come into pit road, we have to look all the way back to the 7th position. That is Stephen Holmes in the 9. He is the first car behind the top 2 on fresh tires. And Jeff Pogo is really starting to go backwards. He's got some right rear damage. He might have smacked the wall somewhere.
It's a pretty common thing to do here is to hit the wall, especially out of turn 2. Just by the way that wall kind of just goes up there and kind of grabs you. But someone I'm really kind of surprised that they haven't moved forward quicker is Jeff Chandler, because he was leading this race. And now he's not the first, not the second, not the third, nor the fourth. He's the 5th car on new tires.
Chandler's just passing Jeff Pogo now, and you saw the damage on that rear corner of Jeff Pogo's car. It just goes to show what I was talking about with Torgerson. It is very, very difficult to make up ground here. Makes it harder if there's a lot of cautions in a run. That gives you no chance to make up ground, but even when you do have the chance, it is not easy to make up time on the racetrack around here.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how LaFaro's kind of fallen off these two as well. Begdal has done an incredible job this stint, I must say, of managing the tire and trying to get the maximum out of it, because he's done quite well. His fall off is actually about half a second. That's really good for these guys, actually.
Yeah, he has done a fantastic job. Has the 29. Luke LaFaro, you're right, has fallen well off of this group. There's a second and a half between second and third. We were talking about Evan Pienta falling off the face of the earth. Well, he's actually starting to make his way back up. He's running times that are quicker than Luke LaFaro. He's slower than some of the guys around him, namely the guys behind him, Chase Barry. Right, that last lap, they were actually, no, Pienta's the 3rd quickest car on track right now in that number 19.
That's quite interesting. I wonder if the tires are going through a graining phase per se, where the tire does not want to work for a couple laps. That's kind of maybe what we're seeing with LaFaro at the moment, because he's dropping like a rock. He is actually the slowest car in the top 10 at the moment. So interesting to see if maybe there's just a phase in the tire that Evan's gone through, what Luke is currently going through, and maybe what a couple other people are eventually going to go through.
Oh, LaFaro's around. Caution is out. And we saw that. We were riding on board with Pienta. It took me a second. I was looking at timing and scoring there to see it. But LaFaro spinning off of turn 4. And as you were saying, those tires might have been going through a phase that could have caused that.
Yeah, that looks like a classic. Just the tire is overheated and it just says, I ain't going through this corner. We're done. It's kind of how that looks.
Same thing that happened to David Carman. Carman had a little bit more of a controlled slide than LaFaro did. But very similar incidents between the 20 and the 30.
Tell you who that saved. That saved everyone who hasn't pitted yet.
Yep.
Because that run was looking like it's going to go green for a long time until then.
So here we go again. We know there are some guys that are certainly going to pit. Guys on lap 23 are coming into pit as well. Tommy Cannon in the number 47, the only car to stay out thus far, and he will just lead that lap.
And it'll be interesting to see if somebody does 2 tires here. I would think that nobody will, but that would be kind of an interesting strategy if somebody who pitted on lap 23, they said to take 2 tires or not.
Well, we're looking at Ryan Jones right now. We know Luke LaFaro won't. Nope, Ryan Jones is taking all 4. On his car, Daniel Dill driving through pit road. And Bechtel, I think Bechtel might have just won that race. He did.
By a nose hair.
So Randy Bechtel retakes the race lead, or will take second at least, if Tommy Cannon decides not to pit, and he does. So now that will give Daniel Dill the race lead, and he will pit after this lap. This is the strategy that Daniel likes to employ here. The earlier stage of the race told me that just prior to Indianapolis that he will drive through pit road, stay out, well, to lead the next lap, and then come into pit road to cycle himself towards the back of the field again. So Dill should be coming in this time to actually service the car.
That's actually a pretty smart strategy to do. So
he's got himself a point. He's got himself an extra point, I think, in every single race this season. Just looking back here. From what it looks like, he's gotten himself a point in the last couple of races. We're seeing, well, he won the pole back at Talladega, so he got an extra point there. It looks to be that at every single race this season, except for the Daytona Road Course, Vegas, and Auto Club, he has gotten a bonus point for leading a lap in some way, shape, or form this season by doing that exact move. Smart man.
A lot of people would not think to do that. So yeah, that is actually pretty smart to do that.
So coming to the green flag here, it'll be Randy Bechtel, Ryan Jones, Evan Pienta, Chase Barry, Troy Torgerson, Stephen Holmes. Your top 3 rows. Nate, bring us to the green, bud.
Oh, I'd be more than happy to. So Bechtel, he hasn't controlled a single start yet this race, but look at this. He's got this start here. So we're going to come 2 by 2 to the green flag here. It's out now. Away we go. And not the greatest start for Jones there, as Pienta is alongside and underneath of him.
Yep. Evan Pienta has been a superstar on restarts here tonight in that number 16. So the points leader currently leading the race. There is Troy Torgerson in the 98 yellow and black Jegs machine running in 5th. Jeff Pogo, who currently sits 3rd place in standings, not having nearly as good a time, has the 5 of Alex Huffman under him. That is a battle for the 12th position that Pogo has now taken. He's going to jump under Jeff Winter in the 18 now. He's got that position done in 11th. So Pogo has some ground to make up if he doesn't want to have even more ground to make up these next 2 weeks.
Kind of like how I mentioned earlier, Pienta's right on the rear end of Jones, but Jones is actually right on the rear end of Bechtel as well. So at the moment, these two have done quite a really good job compared to what we've seen earlier of firing the tires off and staying with Randy there.
They certainly have. So I think we have an issue with Larry Poling in the 69. He is slow on the front straightaway. Is Larry Poling. And that Exalta number 69. We'll take a look and see what happened to Larry here. Possibly. Yes, we will see what happened to Larry. Sliding off of turn 4. Wow, I'm surprised that was able to just barely keep the car rolling. I'm surprised that wasn't a caution, actually.
Well, he didn't have anyone behind him. If he had someone behind him, that would have been a yellow. But that's one of the things, if you're at the very end of the field, if you have a crash or something, you might not get the yellow with it too.
So Randy Bechtel now just set the fastest second half of the lap and does not actually have the fastest lap of the race. Fastest lap of the race belongs to this man, the 33, Jeff Chandler. Currently holds that at a 27.04 for Jeff, and a little bit of a gap now actually forming up between behind Stephen Holmes in the number 9 and in front of the 55 of Zach Callaway, who we've seen nose it into the wall here earlier on tonight.
And the thing too is that these guys don't get a fast repair, so the fact of the matter is he's on that with his original car, so he's doing quite well, I'd have to say, for what happened to him earlier.
Certainly is. Championship hopefuls Jeff Pogo battling with Eric Holly and Alex Huffman here. Boy, Holly got loose in the middle of 1 and 2. That'll open the door wide open for Pogo in the 4. Jeff Pogo up into the top 10, so championship runners running 1, 5, and 10 on track right now. As Bechtel now starting to open up this lead just south of half a second.
It's the stage of the run where we've seen Bechtel be excellent, and it's just that after 5 laps he just does an excellent job of firing the tires off and taking off and getting away from everybody here. So if he can keep this up, which I think he's going to, be very interesting to see.
He's got Larry Poling about to be put a lap down right in front of him. Now, Evan Pienta is not far off in the championship as well. We saw earlier on tonight only 41 points between Bechtel and Pienta, who currently runs in 4th. Chris Brown was the 5th place runner in point standings. He is not here tonight, so that is going to drop him down, and depending upon Pienta's finish here tonight, this could be a 4-horse race going into Pocono next week, and then the season finale at Charlotte 2 weeks in 2 weeks' time.
Just listening to Bechtel there, he's shifting in the 3rd, which is kind of surprising, I'd have to say, especially around here.
Take a look at it here. We've got the dashboard on Bechtel here, which will show the gear shifts if he does make one. Oh yeah, he is. The middle of 1 and 2. He is definitely going down into 3rd gear. Now that could certainly be helping his tire life, providing he's downshifting in the right spot, and that's also helping his exit because he's got the engine wound up.
Normally I'd say it is helping him, but it's actually, if we can listen, he doesn't do it there, but the time before, if you noticed, when he shifted, the rear end stepped out. So I don't know if it's helped him that much.
If the dashboard, if our little dashboard graphic was equal to when he was actually making the move, it looked as though he had gotten the back end kicked out and then downshifted. So I think he might have lost the back end of the car prior to shifting, but you could be right. There could be a little bit of a time delay there. Is Bechtel still holding this lead at around 0.4 of a second? Jeff Chandler still has not made a move. Torgerson still sitting in the 5th position. Alex Huffman has gotten around Jeff Pogo for 10th. So move the 5 back into the top 10. Jamie Leach also. Jamie Leach did not put down a qualifying time. Neither did Zach Callaway, running in the 8th and 9th position. And look, from the looks of it, they might swap it here.
Tell you what, Randy's not going to be very happy with us if somebody else is watching this broadcast and learned that he's shifting, because We just spoiled his secret if that's why he's up there at the front.
Championship hopeful Troy Torgerson has had a major issue coming out of turn 2. We saw the smoke on the broadcast, didn't quite notice why, but we'll try to take a look now and see what happened to Troy. We'll be starting here in 3 and 4. Whatever happens to him is going to happen coming through 2 here on this lap. Torgerson, wow, that starts before the apex of the corner. He's all out of shape.
He did an excellent job to keep it straight too. That's a lot of nice thing about this new repay with Phoenix. A lot of room down there. If we were running the old configuration, that would not be the case. Yeah, it's grass, it's slick, and it's quite narrow as well.
So very good job of Troy Torgerson. Now he has to make up all that ground again, and Randy Bechtel can really really let out a sigh of relief here as both of his championship rivals are outside the top 10. Or pardon me, Pogo with Torgerson dropping out of the top 10. Pogo is now in 10th position, looking for 9th on Zach Calloway in the 55 right now. We're down to a 4-horse race in this championship, just 20 laps off of halfway.
Just watching some inboard footage here, just a couple of the people that are at the front here. And Bechtel by far has one of the smoother hands in the field, but one of the more active ones, I noticed this at Dover as well, is Pienta. His hands are extremely active here as well. I mean, he's kind of just making a lot of quick inputs into the corner, trying to get the tires to bite into it.
Just take a look at that steering wheel. We're on board with Pienta right now. Just turn in, turn in, turn in. Back end starting to kick out. He's sawing the wheel just a little bit. Nothing too dramatic out of that 16, but still working that steering wheel. Trying not to scrub the tires too much on entry, and yeah, he's really having to turn right to go left there.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing. Is he's just not quite got the car hooked up on corner exit. And then I've looked at Jones as well. He's putting a lot more. Oh,
just about lost it there entirely.
So the wheel was extremely active there.
Yeah,
noticed.
I can imagine. He's about to lose that 3rd position to Chase Barry in the 11. Now these two were dancing partners for a majority of the race at Daytona in the road course.
Oh, he's doing it again.
Yep, there he goes. Saves it though.
I think he did this at Dover too. I told him, we talked about how his, my goodness. We talked about his tire wear and how his wheel was doing, and I think he did close to the same thing at Dover, if I remember right.
Yeah, but we just had a green flag run that mirrors the length of the last one. We're only 25 laps into this green flag run, or at least 25 laps into the tire set. He was 50 laps on that last set of tires and wasn't driving like this.
He's also shifting to the 3rd now. I just noticed that as well, so maybe that might have an effect on it as well. More torque to the wheel, which does not help your tire temperatures, which does not help your grip levels. Look how sideways he is. My goodness.
We're riding on board. Couldn't really tell how sideways he was, but with where he came off the corner in relation to Stephen Holmes, and Holmes is getting loose, this racetrack here, I don't know if it's the tires or if it's the track. We're only showing 81 degrees of track temperature. It's got to be the tire set at this point.
Yeah, there's no other explanation as why people are getting that sideways. I'd have to say it's definitely the tires. And Jones is also, looks like it's the opposite way for Jones. He's just pushing the front end. So it seems like if you're more balanced with your car, you're doing a lot better like Bechtel is. Look at him. He's about 2.5 seconds up the road at this point.
And that would tell you what, if he's having such an issue getting the front end to bite, what is he doing in the car that would force the front end to work the way it's working for him right now?
2 hard initial turn-in. That would be the diagnosis I would make on that, because he's probably dragging that right front through the corner, just kind of sliding it a little bit, and that, if you continue to do that, that'll cause your front end to push.
Also looks like he might be getting in a little too hard as well. Let's take a look at the lap time comparison between Randy Bechtel, who is the race leader, and Ryan Jones behind him. 0.3 of a second that last time around. He put a second on him in 2 laps, the 2 laps prior to the most recent lap here.
And Bechtel, well, I would know we've mentioned Bechtel is doing an excellent job. He's not immune to these issues. It looks like he doesn't have the grip level he had before, but kind of like how I mentioned, he's kind of balanced it. He's having the same issues with the front as the rear. That's something you'd like to have. I mean, we kind of mentioned how Jones has struggled with the front, how Pienta struggled with the rear. The other person who's done quite well with the balance is Chase Berry.
Yep, Chase Berry, and again, with how successful he was at the road course at Daytona, we know he can wheel a race car. As you're watching the battle here for 5th, is Stephen Holmes trying to get up into the top 5 positions at the expense of Evan Pienta in the 16. Pienta just not willing to let that car go. He just lost it completely now. Right at pit out, but he's well off the racing surface. We're going to stay green. Every single one of Bechtel's championship rivals have had issues here tonight.
And there's got to be, that tells me there's a phase in the tire about 30 laps in that the tires just don't work. And that just confirmed it for me, because this is the same stage of the run that LaFaro made his mistake.
83 laps, which is 2 laps away from now, would be 30 laps away from where the pit stop happened. Well, where the green flag would have flown on these set of tires. Right now, Jeff Pogo, who you're seeing on screen, is the highest running of the championship rivals in that number 4. Behind him is Troy Torgerson. That is 8th and 9th right now, with the points leader some 13.5 seconds up the road in the race lead.
Tell you how far ahead he is. That's half the racetrack, folks.
If it is, we have that ability here. 29 is your race leader. The 4 down at the bottom of that track map. You're right. It's essentially dead half the racetrack. See the 30 of Carmen in pit road. Eric Holly has been in pit road for a couple of laps now. Randy Bechtel just putting Jared Hagedorn a lap down. That'll be the first lap down Hagedorn is tonight. Only retirements of the race thus far are the 8 of Eric Holly, Mike Mock, David Carmen, and Roy Leemans, who did not make it around the first lap, and the caution is out. Looks like for the 18 of Jeff Winter.
Go with it, say you got some help.
This is right behind, this is right in the middle of that group we were just watching, and yeah, he certainly got a shove from Tommy Cannon. And oh, a big hit on the left front corner on the inside wall there as Winter forced to tow it after that, unfortunately. And pit stops will certainly be happening again.
Yeah, you'd have to say that would happen. That saved Pienta from a lot of damage, because he was back to what place is he in now? Yeah, 14th.
Hoping for an issue with Randy Bechtel right now are his championship rivals. As there it is, Pienta, the last car getting onto pit road. Daniel Dill will stay out and lead another lap in that number 81. Larry Poling, the only car a lap down now, with the wave around given to Jared Hagedorn. 4 tires of fuel all the way.
That's a smart way to do it. I don't want to think about putting 2 tires on this car.
Wow, that first pit stall puts Jeff Chandler out ahead of Chase Barry, it looks like. Look close. No, I think they're giving it to Barry. Oh, no, they didn't.
They shouldn't, because he's about half a car ahead of him.
So Jeff Chandler has almost completely recovered from pitting off cycle earlier on in the night. We are just about at the halfway point. You are watching round 14 action from Phoenix Raceway here for the United Sim Racing Association. We will be back right after this. About ready to go back green flag racing here as we are just shy of halfway for round number 14 of the United Sim Racing Association Season 5 here on ESPN. Phoenix Raceway here tonight, and then after that just Pocono and Charlotte to go here in what has been an incredible Season 5. As Bechtel leads them down and away, Jones slips on the restart, and that will give second place to Jeff Chandler in the 33.
Chandler has an excellent start. My goodness, this man's on a mission. That was an excellent drive off of 2 there, and that was impressive.
Another impressive move by Chase Barry in the 11 to cut down in front of the 5 of Huffman. Ryan Jones going to the outside of turn 4, gets loose,
goodness.
Everyone saves it. It's pushing a little too hard on new tires.
That was a high-class save, though, from both of those drivers to keep it off of each other.
It certainly was. Troy Torgerson has moved his way back up into the 6th position there in that number 98 Jegs machine.
Oh my goodness, Chandler is all over Bechtel. He gave him a little bumper there out of 4.
He certainly is, and you're right, he had a fantastic run coming out of turn 2 on that opening lap, and wow, Chandler sends it right to the outside coming out of turn 2. He's going to try to use that grip you were talking about in qualifying.
Goodness, he is on a mission to get back to where he started this race at, and at the moment, he looks way quicker than Randy at the moment, I have to say.
Looks quicker, but does not have the line in order to make the pass. Again, as we had mentioned, Jeff Chandler, his last 3 races, win, second.
Bechtel doing an excellent job there, just parking the car on the apex, because Chandler did want to get underneath of him there, and it just really bottled up Chandler there. It'll be interesting to see. I think coming out of 2, that's where Chandler's got to do it at. That's where he's looked the strongest, but Bechtel's done an excellent job of just parking the apex, kind of preventing him from getting underneath him.
You got to take that dog leg. If that's the case, you got to take the run that's given to you, and if the run given to you is coming out of turn 2, you got to get under somehow. And that would be the way to do it. It's not frowned upon. in this car at least. Your Indy car might be a little different.
Yeah, that would be a bit different.
See Luke Lafaro in pit road. We were wrong. By the way, I was wrong to say that Eric Holly was a DNF here tonight. He is not. He is back on the racetrack. There he is in number 8. So Holly currently running in the 18th position. About 9 laps down at this point. As we go back up to the front of the field here is Ryan Jones putting Alex Huffman. We've seen these two together quite a bit here in the midfield. They're back together again, battling for 4th.
And these two, we've noticed this is Jones flicks it down to the bottom here, see if he comes up ahead. Not quite, but we've seen them both do what needs to be done to pass people here. And Jones has looked like we've said it before, really strong in these first couple laps. They're kind of the same as Pienta almost, but speaking of Pienta, look how far up he is now.
Yeah, Pienta went from 14th position on that last restart. He is up into 6th. So that number 16 has really flown through the field. It's Troy Torgerson there as well. So far, the lowest running of the drivers in the battle for the championship is the number 4 of Jeff Pogo, who is currently seated 1 lap down in the 14th position. I would have to assume to try to fix that right rear, and at least visually it doesn't look like much was done. It might help the car handling a little bit. It might not be as loose, but that 4 is currently in a bad way here.
Been watching these front 2 here for about a couple laps, and Chandler needs to get just to run a slightly different line, I'd have to imagine, because he's not quite getting that front and downforce that he needs to, because the front end looks to be pushing on him, and then the rear would like to step out right at that corner exit. So his tires are getting overheated at the moment. I'd have to imagine we're about 5 laps away from seeing Bechtel kind of start taking off here if this continues.
Riding on board with Randy Bechtel right now, looking backwards. Chandler, we had mentioned before, has been very, very good here lately on tracks where tire wear is tire conservation, I should say, is absolutely king. And this is another one of those tracks where you do have to save the tires as much as you possibly can in order to get the best run that you possibly can. Has finally found his way back up. Remember last time we were talking about him, he was mired at the bottom of the top 10, now battling for 2nd here.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that you mentioned that he's been really good at saving tires, but it seems like out of 4 every time he's got that rear end steps out just a little bit. And if he continues that throughout this run, because I know he really wants to get by Bechtel, if he continues that throughout the run, he's going to run into issues eventually with that rear tire grip.
Certainly could. As we look just behind them, it's a battle for the 3rd position going on here between Chase Barry, Ryan Jones, Alex Huffman, and Evan Pienta here. All of these cars within a 2nd of each other and about a 2nd off of Jeff Chandler. So these guys having a nice little battle, and just beyond them is Troy Torgerson, who has worked his way back up after sliding. Yep, Ryan Jones had another big slide and will lose 2 spots. Well, 1. Caution comes out. I think it's Zach Calloway again.
Oh.
Let's see if we can see what happens here with Calloway. There's Calloway in the 55 on the outside.
I think you're going to say what I just said when you find it here.
Looked okay. Oh, no. And that's why there are barrels at the end of that wall.
That was a mighty hit, too, actually.
Yeah, it was. That is precisely why there are barrels there.
So, there was only, 18 laps since they pitted.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They look like they're staying out. They pretty much all do.
Huffman would be getting pinched right now for knocking the commitment cone out, but other than that, everybody except for Daniel Dill is the only driver to come down into pit road. Everybody else is out.
If I had to guess, that's partially due if there's unlimited tire sets. I think everyone would be pitting here, but
Yes.
we mentioned that 5 sets is all you're allowed to use, and just by working in my head, they've used 3. If I'm just doing it in my head here, they've used 3 sets so far, so they only got 2 more sets they can use. And with 75 laps in this race, you want to conserve the ability to pit for tires.
Of the drivers that are in the top 8 positions, that goes all the way back to Justin Winters in the 52. Only 2 of the top 8 have come into pit 3 times. That is Jeff Chandler, currently sitting in second, and Ryan Jones, who is currently sitting in 5th. Those guys have taken 3 sets of tires. The other ones, the other drivers, have only taken 2.
That could be very interesting as this race progresses here.
I think that would mean. Now, is it saying 6 sets or 5 on the race info there?
Tire set limit in this race is 5.
So that means guys like Chandler and Jones only have 1 more set to the end here.
So does that mean that the set that they start the race on is considered one of the 5?
Yes, counts as 1, yes.
Okay.
So only 4 sets of tires to change onto.
That tells you that I don't really race in leagues that have tire limits there, so.
So yes, only 4 sets of tires that they can change onto, and the 33 and 91 have taken 3 of those 4.
So they're only allowed to pit for tires 1 more time then. That's pretty significant, actually.
And we are at what, 73 laps to go when we hit the line to start this race again?
So what that means is that they took 3 of their 4 pit stops for halfway.
Yep.
That's no bueno. You do that and you're kind of thinking, uh-oh, I'm going to be kind of in trouble here towards the end of this race.
Yeah, especially when you have, if this race goes green, you're only going to need 1 more set of tires anyway. But it is nice to have that extra set of tires in your back pocket. And I think there's enough, because we had mentioned on that first caution, only the top 9 did not come in, and there's 22 drivers here, that there's enough between you and, say, somebody else at the back. Say, if Bechtel wants to come in on a green-white checker to get those tires, Chandler's got a good gap between him and Bechtel.
Good point.
As we go back to green flag racing, that inside line gets another good start. The only guy we've seen to be able to make that outside line work on a restart is Evan Pienta. And Pienta's in a little bit of a bind here in the 16, or was. He gets out in front of it.
And look at Jones there back to the bottom running that apron that we mentioned earlier. And look, he's with his buddy that he's been with all race long, Huffman, it seems like. So he's very, I like the aggressiveness out of Jones there. Look how tight that is.
Wow. Oh, and Jones trying to swing. You saw him do this earlier. Jones trying to swing up to try to keep from losing another spot. And it looks like it might have worked, as Pienta had to let off just a little bit prior to the braking zone going into 1. It's Torgerson coming under fire from the 52 of Winters. The 9 of Stephen Holmes is the one that's way on the outside. A big wiggle for both the 5 and the 16 there.
Tell you, that only works a couple times. If you come up like that, eventually someone's just going to say, I ain't lifting, dude, and just turns you there. So you got let off that time.
Caden Estes in the chat right now, rooting for Justin Winters. There always seems to be a Justin Winters fan section here at these races. There's the man right there in the 52, currently running in the 9th position, behind Daniel Dill, and that is for position. Dill coming in under this last caution flag to take tires. Now, Dill is going to be a little bit of an interesting scenario because we saw Dill come in that first time and drive through pit road to cycle himself back to the end when he actually did pit. Dill right now is on fresh tires, having come in on lap 104.
Yeah, he's the only one, too, and he's done quite well. He just had his fastest lap of the race that previous time, so he's... The shout-out gave him quite a bit of confidence, I'd have to say. I wonder how many people I can get into YouTube and give me a shout-out so I can run my fast laps of the race.
Yeah, as if you need it. Like, come on, man.
I'd take every advantage I can get.
How much faster do you need to get?
There's always room to improve.
There is yes, it's never perfect. As you're seeing Randy Bechtel out in front where he has been ever since Jeff Chandler got off cycle. So the top three, Bechtel, Barry, and Chandler. Your top three runners. Is behind them. Boy, Ryan Jones getting really loose again in that number 91. And there goes Daniel Dill on Huffman. They might have made contact there going into one. Take a look at it again once this sorts itself out. Is Pienta trying to take advantage? Pienta's going to gain a spot out of that as Huffman.
Oh, he was going to gain a spot.
Yeah, instead he's going to lose. Possibly 3 as Winters will go to the outside. Let's take a look and see there.
He's still...
Yeah, he's... Man's got issues right now in that 16.
He's lost, what, 5, 6 spots?
Yeah.
Hemorrhage him at the moment.
Yep, he certainly is. Jeff Pogo behind him is for position. Pogo is back on the lead lap. Here is what happened between Dill. This is the pass on Pienta. The initial pass, see the 91 get loose up front. Dill on fresh tires, mind you, is going to try to make a dive on the 5. Wow, they didn't touch, but boy, they couldn't have gotten much closer. Wow.
Some excellent racing, though, I will say.
It certainly has been. As we look back up to the front, Bechtel currently leading by just under a second. Chase Barry and Jeff Chandler now getting into it for second place behind him. Chandler trying to keep that streak alive here that he's had. Coming off of turn 4, he will still sit behind Chase Barry, and I think it's coming to a point now where Barry might be holding that 33 up a little bit because Ryan Jones is starting to put Chandler under pressure and Daniel Dill putting him under pressure as well.
Yeah, I'd have to say that's the case because Bechtel, he's reached that stage of the run that we've kind of talked about all night long where he starts to pull away and run away. It just seems like this is the part of the race where he's just so strong, honestly.
Yeah, this is one of the better runs we have seen him have this season from start to finish for Randy Bechtel. Again, his only win this season coming at Kansas, which was round 4 of the season. Other than that, Bechtel has been a fixture on the podium, which is why he is the points leader and why he has been the points leader for quite some time. 8 top 5s in 13 races thus far this season, so he has been absolutely phenomenal, has Bechtel. But tonight, this has been the most complete performance we've seen out of the 29 this season.
That's been pretty flawless, and these guys are from 2nd through 5th there. They're putting on a show as well here.
They certainly are. There is your 4-way battle for the 2nd position. Chase Barry, Jeff Chandler, Ryan Jones, Daniel Dill. Again, Daniel Dill on fresh tires, almost 20 lap fresher tires than everyone in front of him. Came in on lap 104. Everybody else is lap 86. Troy Torgerson still sitting right there. Justin Winters there as well. Jeff Pogo championship hopeful, is now up into the 12th position after getting around Jamie Leach, trying to follow Evan Pienta through. These two have been through the absolute wars tonight, and since the calendar year has changed to 2021, this has been Jeff Pogo's worst race since in this calendar year.
You get a couple bad eggs in your season every now and then, and Phoenix is a difficult.
Oh, there he goes.
Oh.
This should bring out the caution. It will not. He keeps it rolling. And that was a pretty significant hit to the front end of the 4.
That's very surprising that did not throw a yellow.
Yeah, that happened right in front of Jamie Leach. He didn't come to a complete stop the way Luke Lafaro did earlier on, which I think might be why, as we go back up to this battle for second here, as Daniel Dill has actually fallen off of this battle in the 81. See if we can see what happened to Dill. He's pushed up in the middle of 3 and 4 and wasn't able to get in line before Justin Winters got under him going into 1.
So we're what, 55 to go here.
55
guys have got about, well, they pitted about what, 40 odd laps ago roughly.
60 to 86 is when they came into pit.
So they're close to splitting this race in half here.
See Jeff Pogo right there on screen coming into pit road. Eric Holly has pulled it off into pit road again. Luke Lafaro done for the night. Zach Calloway appears to be done for the night as well. Same with Jared Hagedorn. So only 14 cars still circulating this racetrack here with just over 50 laps to go here in this race, and a points leader who is staking his claim to the championship. Again, leads it up by only 13, has led by as much as 42, and all of his other championship rivals have had some form of issues here tonight. Torgerson, his closest championship rival, in 6th. Pogo has been through the wars, sitting in 13th on pit road right now. And Evan Pienta, running in 11th, has had a lot of car issues as well.
It's kind of to see how Torgerson has moved his way back up through the field here. We saw how he we thought he was just kind of riding at that point. And as this race has gone on, it's kind of been a pace deal, I'd have to say. But he's kind of starting to get back into the fray here. Look at him, he's back up to 6th.
Certainly is. Justin Winters has actually gotten around him for that 5th position. Has the 52. Randy Bechtel currently holding a 3-second lead and is expanding every single lap. Chase Barry still out in front of Jeff Chandler at the moment. And with 50 laps to go, we will take this time to take our final break of the evening. And we will bring you the final 50 laps from Phoenix right after this. Don't go away. Tonight's broadcast of the United Sim Racing Association is sponsored by DiecastNuts.com. Post your own diecast collection, add or trade to it in the shop, and see other members' collections at DiecastNuts.com and on Facebook at DiecastNuts. And by Rocket Racing Setups. Rocket Racing Setups is one of the leading setup builders for the iRacing community. Find dirt and asphalt setups, tuning guides, fuel sheets, and much more at RocketRacingSetups.com today. Seen a lot of great racing here during the commercial break, and Ryan Jones and Alex Huffman have decided to come in. Evan Pienta in as well. Jamie Leach. Green flag pit stops, the final pit stops of the day, starting just north of 40 to go.
Man, these two really are inseparable. They pit together, they race together, they do everything together, it seems like.
They certainly have done tonight, as there's the 5 going into his pit box. Jeff Chandler and Troy Torgerson now coming into pit road. As now we're just waiting on Randy Bechtel, who because of the pit cycle has now opened up a 5-second lead over Chase Barry. And he is coming in now.
How much do you bet he's just saying, don't speed, don't speed, don't speed?
That's what cost him at Atlanta. Chase Barry in right behind him. Daniel Dill will stay out and lead yet another lap. Stephen Holmes will stay out with him.
Keep in mind, Dill can go about 20 more laps than these guys, but he's awfully slow on the apron there. So I don't know if he's... I don't know if he just let him by, or I don't know what he's doing, but
he was well off the pace there. Not sure what that scenario was all about. As we'll look at Jeff Chandler now, he is battling the 11 on pit exit. Where is Chase Barry? There he is. Oh, box to overtake for the 33. Will it work? Yes, it will work. So Jeff Chandler gets out in front of Chase Barry, and Ryan Jones makes the jump as well.
Bechtel's got a bigger lead than when he came in, so he had a really strong pit stop as well. So another thing to note too, Bechtel's the only guy that's on the lead lap that's pitted here.
Yep, he certainly is. Right now, only 2 drivers have not come into pit yet. Daniel Dill, who we had mentioned, does need to pit again, but came in on lap 104. He is the race leader. Tommy Cannon, who you see right now on screen in the 47, he is the only other driver that has not come into pit as of yet. Stephen Holmes is getting passed on pit road as we speak, as Holmes is leaving pit road. The effective race leader right now is this man right here in the 29, running in the 3rd position. And you're right, Bechtel does have a massive lead. Ryan Jones has actually passed it. Where did Jeff Chandler go? My goodness, there's Jeff Chandler running in 5th now, or 6th, pardon me.
Something must have happened because he was right in front of Ryan Jones.
Oh, we had a big slide coming off of turn 2.
Oh, wow, he did, definitely.
So there's the issue with Jeff Chandler. That is Daniel Dill right behind him, so Chandler is back on the lead lap. Troy Torgerson, Alex Huffman right behind Dill. They're about to get their laps back right here. So these guys now starting to cycle through back onto the lead lap. Ryan Jones with Chase Barry right behind him. This is for effective 2nd on the racetrack. Surprised Tommy Cannon has not come into pit yet, because he came into pit on lap 86 with everybody else who came in just now.
Well, if I had to guess, he's also in the camp of hoping for a yellow here, because he can gain a lot of track position if that's the case. But we saw him get involved in one of those early yellows too, so it's kind of surprising to see him do quite well.
There's the 47 of Tommy Cannon getting a big slide on through 1 and 2. He has Evan Pienta and Stephen Holmes. That is 10th and 11th behind him. Jeff Pogo, by the way, has called it an evening in that number 4. So after coming up a lap short last week after an issue with the fuel tank at Indianapolis, losing a win and ended up finishing outside of the top 5. Would have been the points leader coming out of that race. Had he stayed on track, he has followed that performance up with another poor one, as he's currently sitting in pit road now, has been for the last 10 minutes, and has not had the day that he was hoping for.
Kind of reminds me of one of the greatest, the Grand Tour quotes when the celebrity guest would, something tragic would happen to them, and James May would be like, so he's not coming on then?
Yes, so does that mean he's not coming on then? Speaking of those point standings, we've made so much of it here tonight. Let's go to the point standings. As they sit coming into this race, Randy Bechtel, who you're seeing just behind the point standings, currently your points leader by 13 points over Troy Torgerson. Jeff Pogo, Evan Pienta, really the only three now that, only four, pardon me, that are mathematically eligible still to win this championship. Stephen Holmes, 80 points behind. He's going to need an absolute miracle running into the 11th position right now. And Chris Brown is not here tonight, so that pretty much eliminates him from championship contention. So 41 points separating first through fourth in the standings, and that's why we've been keeping such an eye on the 29, the 98, the 4, and the 16. It's coming down, only 2 races to go. Pocono next week. That one could be fun, and from what we've seen, it could be a disaster as well.
I don't know. These cars in Pocono, they're definitely a blast. So I'd have to go with the fun side, honestly.
I would be expecting the fun side, and again, these guys are not known for cautions. So this is, the expectation is very, very high, at least for Pocono, that we are going to get a good race. As Chase Barry still trying to hold off Ryan Jones. A battle for effective second again here. Working with 30 laps to go, Randy Bechtel has almost made up a lap completely on Daniel Dill, who is still yet to pit. Tommy Cannon has still yet to pit as well in the 47 after pitting on lap 86.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine Tommy's got to be pitting at some point here pretty quickly. So that's a long time to be out there if he's able to make that work.
Certainly is. And there you see the pit stop lap for the top 5. Bechtel and Barry coming in, both on lap 138. Jones on 136. 104 for Dill.
One spin in the back.
That's... Caution is out. Was that Dill?
I'm not. Let me go check.
So I didn't see anyone fall down the timing pylon.
Oh, it's Torgensen and Winters almost synchronized.
So we'll try to see what happened with those guys. Torgerson was battling Huffman at the time of the caution. There goes Torgerson sliding through. And then you said Justin Winters. Well, he's down low as well. Wow. So those two were cautions. But seeing Jeff Pogo spinning out on the front straightaway wasn't. Neither one of those cars went around. Unless that wasn't the caution.
Well, Dill was awfully... Oh, it was Dill.
It was
yes,
Dill.
It was. It just happened to be at the exact same time.
So let's see again. This is... Oh, yep. There's the race leader. And that is the caution right there.
So this has benefited a couple of people here. Well, wait, was the pits open there?
Yeah, Tommy Cannon did come into pit road. Daniel Dill did not. He might come in this time, though.
Oh, yeah, because he's been doing... Okay, so he has been doing that strategy. Forgot about that.
Jared Hagedorn. Yep, here comes the 81. So Jared Hagedorn will get a lap back via wave around. See Larry Poling coming in behind the 81. So that will leave Chase Barry with the race. Chase Barry on the outside of the front row. Randy Bechtel with the race lead. If you got it, flaunt it at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone should be good to go on tires and fuel. Now remember, everyone up here in the top 5, except for Jones and Chandler, have an extra set of tires to burn. If there is another caution in quick succession right here, do you consider coming in to take that extra set of tires to get what would be a 25 lap tire advantage on the rest of the field?
I would extremely doubt that we see anybody else coming to pit road the rest of the race, unless if it's about lap. Oh, yeah, I doubt it. It just doesn't make enough sense to do it at this point.
So it'll be Bechtel and Barry first and second. Ryan Jones and Jeff Chandler will make up row 2. Row 3 will go to Troy Torgerson and Alex Huffman. Row 4 to Pienta and Holmes. And all of those guys need something to happen to that 29 in order for the championship to be a little bit tighter going into Pocono next week.
I got a feeling that might not happen.
It's wishful thinking for those guys.
Yeah.
And also, I'm going to stop calling drivers out of the race because we can see Pogo in the 4 is back out on the racetrack. As there goes the 29 of Bechtel, gets a great restart. Jones behind him didn't get necessarily a good one, and neither did Torgerson. Torgerson's going to lose that 5th spot to Alex Huffman on the outside line and is now coming under some serious pressure from Evan Pienta, who goes way down low.
Oh. That was pretty impressive there. And we are going to see if Jones or Barry is able to get up to Bechtel. We see them do quite well in the first 5 to 10 laps, but after that, this race is going to get kind of back into Bechtel's hands, and we've seen how he does when it's in his hands.
Absolutely have. As Stephen Holmes now about to get around Troy Torgerson. That would be for the 8th position as we look back up towards the front here. Bechtel getting away. Chase Barry, Ryan Jones, Jeff Chandler, your top 4. Then there's a little bit of a gap back to Alex Huffman and Justin Winter.
He didn't save that, did he?
Who?
That's Pienta.
All right, we're going to be looking for that now. Let's take a look here. We're going to go back a little ways here. This is not going to be the incident here, so we're about a lap away, or half a lap away from the incident. So there's Pienta in the 16. The caution has come out here.
Oh my goodness, there's a massive wreck on the front stretch.
Yeah, we're going to go back to that right now. It's the 91 of Ryan Jones, it looks like, is in it. Wow, that 91 got hit hard. Boy, he's crab walking something fierce right now. Yeah, I think that 91 is done.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So see if he can get the car going straight here. Nope, he cannot. He's going to have to.
Yep. It's not going to go straight.
So let's see what happened while we were looking for the save by Pienta. This is coming through 3 and 4, and we've seen so many drivers, including Jones. Just this time he couldn't save it. Huffman just does get through, and Dill does not, and that pushes him right up in front of the 13 of Jamie Leach. And you can see that crab walk of the 91.
That's a lot of stagger in the rear end. That is
Yeah,
a dirt term I do
a
understand.
little bit.
I don't know a lot of dirt terms. I would not do well on our dirt broadcast here, but I do understand that stagger is pretty important when it comes to those cars, and that car has a lot of it.
This is on board with Jamie Leach, and you can see really, wow, just out of the smoke comes the 91. Couldn't see him until the very last second, and from there it was way too late. Boy, oh boy.
Interesting that Barry pitted there.
Yep, Chase Barry did come into pit. Troy Torgerson in as well. Torgerson will actually beat the 5 out of pit road. I believe that would be a position jump for Torgerson. So now just the top 5 are out on old tires. Some of those guys taking that strategy that I was talking about.
I will say I'm wrong. I don't like admitting it, but I was wrong in this case. So good job, Frank.
You know, blind squirrel finds a nut every now and again.
That is true.
So let's go back and see what happened with Evan Pienta and this otherworldly save that he made. Again, we're going to take you back a little bit farther. Oh, wow. Oh, no, we took you back in perfect time. My goodness, boy, Holmes. Boy, Holmes made that a lot closer. He could have just stayed straight. My goodness, what a save from Pienta.
It's impressive work.
Certainly
That's
was.
100% was one of the better saves of the night.
You'd do pretty good with DOB tonight.
Yeah, I'd say so.
That broadcast is going live, by the way. They're probably around the feature right now for the DOB 410 Sprint Series at Williams Grove tonight. Ryan Williams, who you've heard with me in the booth here a lot this past week, and Richard Spar, I believe, who was in the booth on Sunday with Byron for the Chris Cup race at the Daytona Road Course, both in the booth together tonight. So that will set up another restart here. Fresh tires on the outside of row 3. That would be Chase Barry in the 11, and that might be the only way you're going to beat the 29 tonight. Nate, bring us down.
We only got 16 more laps to go in this thing, and Bechtel's led. How many laps has Bechtel led? That is
quite a number.
It's a lot. It's definitely more than 100 he's led tonight.
It's the most laps led tonight, without a doubt.
I think that's a safe assessment. Anyway, pace car is off. Bechtel has control of the field, and it looks like he's holding him down here. He's away. The green flag is out, and we're back into racing here as Chandler got a better restart this time. Still not quite there with Bechtel until he enters the corner when he shoots it in there.
Certainly does, and the car blinking there, that's the 9 of Stephen Holmes, who is blinking now. Chase Barry is going to be looking to try to use those tires as much as he can here. There's really no saving for that 11 right now. He has got to make his way up towards the front of the field.
Oh!
Pushes Tommy Cannon out, and that should be a caution. Tommy Cannon spinning down the front straightaway, and it is a caution. And the end of Tommy Cannon's race, unfortunately.
That was just a case of trying to get while all the getting was good there.
Exactly right. Boy, wow. The 5 and the 52 both did a fantastic job of getting through there. It's on board with Huffman. Just misses, and then on board with Winters. Wow, that was close for both of them.
Don't get a whole lot closer for either of those guys there. So they thinking they're lucky stars, I'd have to say.
Absolutely. Only benefit coming out of that restart for the 11 of Barry is that now he will start on the inside of row 3 instead of the outside. Again, everybody behind him is on fresh tires as well, as it looks like Evan Pienta is going to come into pit road.
Well, that's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
He's going to pay. Should have done it the last time.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think if this was a strategy you were going to pull, the last one had to have been the one.
Maybe he knows something we don't.
See, and that's always my thought, is how much time am I leaving myself? If I'm going to come into pit late, I want to leave myself enough time, 1, for my tires to hook up, and 2, to be able to make the run. I think Barry did that, and the rest of the field. Pienta, he might be good enough to get the tires hooked up, but they're going to have, what, 10 to go by the time we get back to racing here? I think he left it a little too late.
Well, he hasn't left his pit box yet. That's the thing.
We're looking at Evan Pienta right now, or at least trying to. There's
now
Pienta.
He goes.
Yep, there we go.
That tells me something else was occurring that probably we're not related to here, that probably caused him to be in pit road for that long.
42 seconds, so that's not a speeding penalty.
A little short to go get a beer, too. Actually, you probably, it depends on how close the fridge is. You probably could get a beer in that
just
time.
Needed a little extra fuel.
Yeah, exactly.
See, now if he were smart, he'd have the mini fridge right next to the rig, so he didn't have to get out. He'd just reach over.
That's a pretty genius move right there. That's actually, if I had a big enough place, I probably would do that.
See, that's about 1,000 IQ play right there.
Do we even know is Evan old enough to drink? Now I'm going to feel really bad if he's under 21.
I think he is.
Okay.
Pretty sure he is. So, coming out of turn 4, this will be this race. This will be the race. This will be the race we restart the lap on. This will be the lap we restart the race on, as there will be 11 to go when we hit the line to go back racing. You know what? Pienta might not have made too bad a decision. He's starting on the outside of row 4.
So he lost a lot less spots than I thought he was going to lose.
Yeah, he went from 4th to 8th, so not too horrendous. Only 8 cars on the lead lap. The 13 of Jamie Leach is the final car on the lead lap in 8th. So here we go for possibly the final time here tonight. 10 laps to go at the line. Bechtel and Chandler, the front row. Green flag is in the air. Randy Bechtel gets one heck of a jump, and Chase Barry now has to try to run him down.
He threw it in there, and look at Barry. He's just going to split the gap, and he's going to go to second here.
Beautiful move from Chase Barry in the 11, and that's the fresh tires that allow him to make that move. And it might be a race-winning move as Torgerson slides up into the 5th position. He has Evan Pienta behind him in 6th. Boy, Stephen Holmes has just fallen like a rock as Pienta's around, and that's caution. Just pushed a little too hard. And now Bechtel's in some serious trouble.
That's just the case of not getting the tires warmed up.
Exactly right. Tried to push a little too hard. Locked it down, just was not enough, and the caution comes out.
You know, I wonder if Evan's favorite artist is Flo Rida. Because you spin me right round.
So I'll be doing the rest of this race solo now. Have we learned our lesson now? Nate, have we learned our lesson?
Maybe.
Okay.
That was a very awkward silence.
That's what happens when you all of a sudden just drop out of the broadcast booth. I don't know what happened there, bud.
Yeah, crazy, wasn't it?
No idea what happened. So, and as I said just before we saw that replay, Randy Bechtel is in serious trouble now because the driver to his direct outside has a lot fresher tires than he does.
If I had to get, Randy's done an excellent job here on all of his launches. He usually gets caught up about one lap in. So if I had to guess, he's going to do another amazing restart here because he's done, I don't think, a bad restart at all tonight.
No, he has been solid. The only time he wasn't quick off the draw was when he wasn't the one controlling the restart, and that's why controlling the restart is so critical. Because you can go whatever you want. Now there are series that have it that have rules to where, and I know Chris Cup is that way, to where you have to go on green. The USRA is not that way. You do not have to go on green. It's at leader's discretion as to when you can go. So we're probably going to restart here with about 3 or 4 to go. Not quite a green-white checkered, but certainly enough time for the 11 of Barry to make a move.
If he gets an average launch here, I think Barry does. I think he's got a best chance out of anybody so far tonight to get around Bechtel.
Alex Huffman on that outside line in the number 5. He also has the same tires that Chase Barry has. Troy Torgerson, who's going to be starting on the inside of row 3, has the same tire as the 2 in the top lane.
And we've talked about Torgerson having, we talked a lot about the points all night long, but I mean, if Barry gets around Bechtel and maybe reduces the damage done tonight, that could be really important to his championship hopes.
That's kind of the scenario that a guy like Jeff Pogo is in right now. Pogo's pretty solidly in 15th spot in that number 4. This is about damage limitation for these guys, and the fact that Bechtel did not come in with the rest of the field really hurt his chances at possibly winning this race. The 2 cars on the outside of him now have 25 lap fresher tires than he does. And we're coming to what could be the final green flag of the night.
The only thing that comes to mind is that these guys haven't had a whole lot of green flag running on their fresh tires. They might not be up to temperature the way they need to be at.
Very good point. As the pace car ducks on off here for hopefully the final time, Bechtel gets it going straight, gets the car rolling. We're green flag racing yet again. Barry swings out wide. Chandler has to keep it low. Does successfully. Now Barry really has to clear that 33.
He's got to do it. He's got to do it right here to even have a chance. And it looks like he does clear him. So that's what Barry needed. He needed to get by. And look at Huffman here. He's going to look to the outside.
Oh, a big slide from Barry. And you're right, Huffman going to the outside of the 33. Torgerson trying to stick a nose in there, but that big run down the front straightaway negated for the 11 by the big slide coming out of 4 that he had. Still has 2.5 laps to try to get it done.
He's going to get to the bumper. I don't know if he's actually going to be able to make anything with it, though, because Bechtel's doing quite well for how old his tires are.
2 laps to go. The battle is here for the race win. That is the top 5 on your screen right now. No slipping out of Torgerson. Bechtel, pardon me. Bechtel has been on rails tonight. My goodness.
Well, Barry tried to use the apron there, tried to use a dog leg, and he gained quite a bit of time.
Oh,
Look at this
and that's
slide.
what's going to end it, unfortunately, is now
Oh.
Chandler. A big block on the 33 of Chandler.
And look, oh no!
Torgerson's around. Torgerson able to save it. Look at Jeff Chandler. Look at Alex Huffman to the inside. They're 3 wide going into turn 3. They're all wrecking. They're all wrecking in turn 3, but coming out of turn number 4, the championship leader, Randy Bechtel, will win here at Phoenix, a return to form race, and did it in dominating fashion. Huffman will come home second. Justin Winters will come home in third. What a final corner that was.
Tell you what, there's fireworks going off on the
Yeah.
out of turn 3, but there is more fireworks I think that was going on the racetrack there.
Chase Barry went from having the best chance to win to finishing 9th. Jeff Chandler comes home in 8th. And that's hard racing for a win at the end of the race.
Yeah, no fault of anybody there. That's just how that kind of just shakes out at the end of a race like this. You gotta go. You kind of just gotta say, here, I am. I hope this sticks. And for a couple people there, it just didn't stick.
You can see the wreck and look at the slide by the 5. Chase Barry tried to hold on, just couldn't do it. I mean, and that was one heck of a finish to this race. Look at the 5, take the dive down low. I don't know if Chandler knew he was down there.
Yeah, that's a hard call to know if he was actually down there. I would have to say he didn't know that.
Yeah, with the way Chandler came down, I would hazard a guess that he had no clue that he was there. But there you have it, the race winner here tonight. The points leader just gained about 10 points on his lead tonight, with Torgerson finishing in 5th, a 23-point lead with 2 races to go, roughly 23 points. That's nearly insurmountable.
Pretty significant to have a lead. That's a pretty good lead, though, for having 2 races to go. Be interesting to see if he's able to have a really strong run at Pocono. Maybe, just maybe, clinch it a race early.
Absolutely. As we'll get these guys in here for interviews momentarily, as I believe, Nate, you are now with our race winner.
Randy, Nate in the ESBM booth, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Randy, you had an excellent run. I don't think anyone could touch you all night. I think you're basically Superman with how often you were at the front of this field. Talk us through it. I mean, you really had a dominant performance.
It's all the practice me and my friend Justin, who was race control, did the other day. Just doing a couple runs here, there, and just being consistent. You know, like turn 1, if you messed up at all, your tires would just eat away. And that's just what I've tried to do, and it worked out pretty good.
And we noticed how a lot of people were losing the rear end of the car tonight. A couple people didn't have the front of the car stuck on the ground either. But I don't think I ever saw your car even step out or get tied at all. It was incredibly planted throughout the run. How are you able to keep the car so well balanced while your competition could not?
It was all about the air. It was just learned being behind people. Your car just did anything it felt like. It would be tight or loose. So my goal was just to stay in front and have clean air the whole race.
Absolutely. So we have 2 races to go. You know what the championship looks like. You gained quite a significant advantage tonight with a lot of your competitors just kind of not having it together tonight. We go to Pocono next week. What is your mindset going into that race? with the ramifications it could have.
I'm just gonna try to finish. That's my goal. It's a home track for me, so hopefully hopefully get another good finish there, and then we'll go into Charlotte and settle the points there.
Well, sounds good, Randy. Anyone you'd like to thank on your dominant performance tonight?
Of course, I'd like to thank Justin for helping a little practice with me. Ryan and Chase, who they both did pretty good there to the end of the race. I'm not quite sure what exactly happened with Ryan and what happened with Chase there at the end. I thought Chase would have got me if we would have went green when he got those new tires, but unfortunately we didn't. Like to thank Eric and Jeff for putting on the USRA, and of course you guys for putting on the broadcast.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. Thank you, Randy. So go congratulations, sorry, and go celebrate your dominant performance here tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So there was your race winner here tonight. In just a moment, we will get in. We'll get in a word with your second place finisher, Alex Huffman. And we will do just that right now. Alex, good run.
Yep.
That last lap, I'm sure that's not how you wanted it to go down, but a second place nonetheless.
Yeah, it's I wanted to go down. I don't ever want to get in contact with anybody, and thought I was giving enough room, but apparently neither of us knew we were still 3 wide, and he didn't know I was on his inside, and I thought we were only double wide. I thought he cleared Chase, and it's just a mess I don't want to happen.
Other than that, you had ran pretty solidly in the top 5 all night long. Had a little bit of a lull where you were battling towards the back end of the top 5, but a really good race for you here tonight overall as compared to some of the more recent races you've run.
Yeah, it's one of the better results I've had lately with how bad my luck's been. Last week having a hurt wrist, not able to do much, and sadly the wheel came out of my hand and almost felt like it shattered it. And then Nashville, just the bad luck of that. And I'll take a second, but it's not definitely contact was definitely not the way I wanted to end up second there.
Now, we've seen you be so quick in qualifying all season long. Pocono is a big track, a lot of speed at that racetrack. What are your thoughts going into the penultimate race of the season?
I better put a lot of laps in if I just want to be able to compete for a win, but I'm going to make sure I give all the championship contenders all the room and space they deserve. I wish I was still in the hunt for it, but I've had too many bad races. I'm not that great at Pocono, so I definitely don't want to be in the way. I'm just going to go out there and do all I can to win the race or salvage a top 5 out of it.
All right. Anyone you want to thank, Bud, before we let you go?
I gotta thank my grandpa, Alan's Body Shop, of course. You guys at ESPN for broadcasting this. Jeff and them at USRA for allowing this. My cousin Justin, all of a sudden bringing up a third, missing that mess too. Awesome to see him get a top 3 as well. And Circle B Diecast. If y'all need any diecast, use code Huffy for free shipping.
Well, there you go. A little free plug there as Alex Huffman brings it home in second position here tonight, Bud. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we're waiting to see. I'm assuming we are doing an interview with our third place finisher here tonight, Justin Winters. We'd moved him into the waiting room, and then he had popped out of it. So we'll bring him in here, nonetheless. I would have to assume we're all good with that. So Nate, you should be with our third place finisher here right now.
Justin, Nate in the ESPN booth, you got a copy.
Got you, buddy.
Okay.
Well, is it safe to say where did he come from? Because you really just kind of just popped up in third there at the end of this race.
Yeah, I would say so. I ran in the back of the top 10 pretty much all night. So yeah, got a little bit of luck and a little bit of drama happened in front of me, and was able to miss it all and somehow finish third place.
I mean, you started that lap in 6th place. You finished third. What was your mindset on that final lap?
Just keep digging and see what happens. You never know what's going to happen at the end of these races. You know, you hate for there to be contact between any drivers, but you just never know until you cross the checkered flag.
Yeah, absolutely. And Randy made a mention to you in his interview about you helping out a lot in the practices coming up to this race. What did you learn in those practices that you're able to translate over here tonight?
I would love to take credit for that, but I think you're talking about the man Justin Wilson.
Oh, am I? Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Shout out to Justin Wilson.
There, so that's okay. Sorry about that.
You're okay.
Anyway, you finished third. Is there anyone you'd like to thank on your podium here tonight?
Yeah, want to tell my mom, hope she's getting feeling better. Alan's Body Shop for being on a car, my uncle. Boots Manufacturing, old school diecast. It's in Evansville, Indiana. Get your diecast there, and want to thank you guys for putting it on or broadcasting it, and then Jeff and Eric for what they do at USRA. It's a very fun league and very competitive.
Absolutely, Justin. Well, congratulations on your podium here tonight. We look forward to seeing you next week at Pocono.
Yes, sir. You guys have a great night.
So that was your third place finisher here tonight. Like, what a great race that we saw from start to finish. And I think Miss Amanda in our chat here said it perfectly. Amazing race. Bechtel did it perfectly. And she's 100% right. On rails all night long was the 29.
I don't think anyone could touch him tonight. That man was on a mission. The man was untouchable, really. Once he got the lead, he had the lead, I think, literally the entire race, basically, other than pit stops. I mean, he was flawless all night long, didn't make a single mistake. We talked to him in the interview. He practiced for this race. He did a lot of the work beforehand. That makes a huge difference in these races.
It certainly does. And again, going back to round 4, December 3rd was the last time Randy Bechtel was in victory lane at Kansas, just the 4th race of the season for the driver of the 29. And now we're assuming him to be roughly in the neighborhood of being around 25 points to the clear. That would mean Bechtel needing an incredibly bad race and Torgerson needing a win, really, to push the championship to a reasonably competitive level going into the season finale at Charlotte.
Torgerson realistically has to win both at Pocono and at Charlotte in order to have a chance, really. I mean, when you have a gap that large, 25 points, we've kind of mentioned it. It doesn't seem like a lot, but if Torgerson wants to have a realistic shot at the championship, he does have to win at both of the upcoming races.
Evan Pienta does the best out of the 3 that are chasing Randy Bechtel down. Still doesn't gain any points on Bechtel, but he'll certainly jump up into the 3rd position in points with Jeff Pogo having such a poor night. We'll get to the results in a minute. But coming a lap away from winning at Indianapolis last week to finishing outside of the top 10 and now just having an absolutely abysmal race here tonight at Phoenix, that certainly does not help. He's in the same boat, really, as Torgerson.
They say when it rains, it pours. And it's not pouring. It's a kind of a monsoon at this point. Because when you have a chance at a championship and then you have something happen on the last lap of a race, and you go to the next race and you just aren't able to get really any footing tonight. He really just could not. Most of the incidents weren't his fault. It just didn't fall his way. So just really, when you're in that kind of mindset, you kind of just got to work your way out of it.
Certainly, and he'll have 2 races to work himself out of it as we go to the results here for tonight's race. Randy Bechtel, Alex Huffman, Justin Winters. We've spoken with them already. That is your top three. Evan Pienta and Troy Torgerson round out the top five. Stephen Holmes comes home in sixth position. Jamie Leach in seventh. Jeff Chandler eighth. Chase Barry ninth. Larry Poling coming home 2 laps down in the 10th position. So a top 10 finish for Larry. Daniel Dill comes home in 11th position. Tommy Cannon, we saw his late race wreck, comes home in 12th.
Ryan Jones, we saw him get involved in that front stretch accident. He came home in 13th. Jared Hagedorn, he came home in the 14th position. Jeff Pogo, we mentioned how tonight just did not work well for him. He came home in the 15th position. Zach Calloway, he came home in the 16th spot. With Luke Lafaro, he had a really strong beginning of his race. The 20 car came home in the 17th position. Eric Hawley, he came home in 18th. Jeff Winter, saw him do quite well there at the beginning of this race. He came home in the 19th position. Mike Mock, he came home in 20th. David Carmen, he came home in the 21st position. And Roy Lehmans, we saw him early on in this race just have a couple incidents there. He came home in the 22nd position.
Certainly did see him have that issue early on. As if you're wondering about the state of the race for the DOB 410 Sprint Series, that race is over as well. So unfortunately, you guys would have missed that. But coming up the rest of this weekend here on ESPN, it'll be Sam Cooper Bennett and Nate Siefker in the booth. I said that as if you weren't here. It'll be Sam and Nate in the booth for the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series at Talladega. Big information that is going to have a major impact on the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series. News that broke earlier this week. If you guys watched the Rowdy Energy Cup Series race at Daytona, you would have seen the incidents between Brody Smith and Nick Kessler, and due to those incidents, Brody Smith has been removed from both the Rowdy Energy Cup Series and the Circle B Diecast Series. Same with his brother Cody. Both of those drivers no longer allowed to compete in either championship this season, so that will certainly mix up the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series. They will be in the trucks at Talladega. On Sunday night, it will be the Chris Cup Series from the iRacing Super Speedway, their final race before the chase for the championship. On Monday, it will be the Rowdy Energy Cup Series, staying in Florida but leaving Daytona and going to Homestead Miami Speedway for round 3 of the season. And on Tuesday night, it will be the Western States Racing League at Iowa, round number 8 of the spring season for the WSRL. So for my broadcast partner, Nate Siefker, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening here. The penultimate round of the USRA Cup Series season next week at Pocono Raceway. We thank you very much, and we will see you next time here for the USRA. Have a great night, everybody.